Hey everybody, Ira Miller here on Monday Night Live, and it's been a while since we've been together. So, looks like everybody got started without me, which is good. Kevin, looks like you kind of started the show already, right? I like that. So, listen, thank you for all joining us today. As you know, been on COVID break. So this is week 4, so I'm good. I'm way over the hump, and hopefully I won't get it again to next year, because it seems like I'm getting it every year. And so last year I had it in February, all of February. Luckily this time I recovered pretty quickly. The first day was awful, second day not too bad, third day got better, fourth day I went down the hill and then came back up out of the hole again. So there you go. That's kind of a little bit of history of what's been going on. So I guess it's been about a month since we've been together, right? So here we are back in the office. As you can see, whenever you see the monitor back there, hold up. There we are. Whenever you see the monitor behind me, then you know that I'm in the office. And then if it just has Homes Around the Villages right there, all across my back, you know, I'm in my home studio. But anyways, we have a special guest tonight, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of homework first before we get to our special guest. Okay, well, we have a request already from Linda for Katina. We'll leave that right over there for her. Let's go ahead and, let me have that. Okay, there we go. All right, so anyways, let's get up close and personal. So, so here's the deal. I got an email the other day, and technical difficulties here. I had my head chopped off.
Well, it's good now.
No, it's better now because you adjusted it.
Okay.
Anyways, let's keep going. So Friday, June 30th, I got an email from somebody. Okay, and I won't put her name out there, but anyways, Thursday evening we had our final walkthrough. So she went ahead and bought a let's go. Sorry about that. We'll get the phone calls later. And tonight, if you want to make a phone call, by the way, you can go ahead and call the office. Christian, go ahead and put that office number up there. If we want to go ahead and talk live with Katina, we could do that. Or you could just write your chats or send an email. However you would like to go ahead and do that, okay? All right, so back to the email. Thursday evening, we had our final walkthrough. I was horrified at what deceit our salesperson had done. So I was a little baffled at that point. So they continue to say, we bought through the village's website. Unfortunately, well, that didn't work out very good. Sorry. They printed out the email for me, but half of it's cut off. So we're going to skip that and move on. This is ridiculous. So, did you read that?
No,
Okay, I didn't think so.
I didn't print it.
Who printed it?
Blakely.
Did you? Okay. Let's go to our chats. So, how many people we have?
We currently have 35.
How many?
35.
35 people. All right, anyways. So Kevin, thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate that. And then we have Sandy. She's here with us. That's great. Y'all kind of know how things work around here. We're always having technical difficulties in one way or another. So especially, I moved everything from my home studio over to here to our office studio. So then when we start putting all this stuff together again, you guys should really see what this place looks like. There's wires everywhere, 2 cameras, 2 microphones. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, it's an organized mess, I guess you could say. But we get the job done, right? All right, so Jerry Bell, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight, Jerry. Just want to give a shout out to everybody because all y'all are so loyal. And I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate you joining us tonight especially since we've been gone for, I can't remember if it's 4 or 6 weeks. But anyways, we got Jerry, who's our regular man about town. He's ready to get the party started. All right, Jerry. Yeah, so do we need to even talk about concerts? Because I missed my concert. I missed Motley Crue, Poison, Joan Jett, and Def Leppard because I had COVID. I almost went, but I was lucky enough that I got my tickets sold on Ticketmaster, and that was, I don't know. That was just par for the course on there. So, I don't know if y'all know. So when I got COVID on Thursday. Friday was my son's birthday, 20th birthday. Missed that. Because he came home from Jacksonville because he goes to school up at University of North Florida. Came home, we were going to have a big party for him. Nothing. Nobody could come because I got COVID the day before. So that was wiped out. Concert on Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was only 3 days into the COVID thing. My concert got wiped out. Father's Day got wiped out. So it couldn't have been a worse time to get COVID than at that point in time. And then I can't even remember right now when we're supposed to do our Monday Night Live, but I do know that this Thursday will be 4 weeks. So I'm sure we're probably 5 or 6 weeks out since we last got together. So there's the story. I'm sticking to it, and now y'all know what's going on now. So Jerry, you're hurting me with about the concert that Kevin went to because Kevin's saying nothing yet. I thought you went to a concert, Kevin. Oh yeah, Kevin's getting over COVID too. That's right. So he and Karen both. I didn't give it to him, I promise you. One me. So anyways, I think Kevin and Karen are good to go now. Because why? This is why. So we have our man about town, Mr. Giovanni. And so Kevin sent us some beautiful pictures. And then, I don't know, Kevin, should I tell everybody what I asked you in the texting today? you let me know. If you say no, I won't. If you do, if you say yes, I will. All right. Okay, so he said, you said yes, right? I'm getting a little bit behind, I think. But anyways, Kevin, let me know. So, anyways, no! Okay, I won't say nothing then. All right. Let me go back up so I make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay? All right. So, Jerry, the nice guy he is, hope you can get back to pickleball soon. Yeah, I think they're out there getting with it. How long has it been, Kevin? How long has it been since you've had COVID? A couple of weeks, I think. Right. So Gamala, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm kind of just going through as I can. So good evening to you too as well. Thank you for joining us this evening. So there you go. Jerry asked, will we have some new Geo pictures? There we go. We have, that boy's growing up right in front of our eyes, isn't he? That's cool. And then we have Nana and Papa. I'm not sure what y'all call yourself, but anyways, there is the man about town and the man of the hour. All right, so Drew has joined us. Jerry, no fair retracting your messages, because if you do, we can't converse. All right, so let's see what else we got. All right, so Drew, thanks for joining. Angie, greetings. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So let's see, what's with the email? Why you send an email? Why'd you put our email down here?
Because I put both our office phone number and email because you mentioned both when you were talking.
Okay. But for right now, we want to just kind of in our chat. Okay. Lex, location still holds true. I guess Florida, if you want to consider Florida, location, I would say absolutely it holds true. Kelly and Ken, thanks for joining us this evening. Coming from Texas, so I hope y'all are doing well. So Kelly and Ken reached out to me. They bought a big, actually, I would say it's a farm, right? That needed a lot of renovation. So I went and helped them get a contractor. I was going to take on the job myself if I had to, but we have Ben, who Kelly is saying, so Ben's getting us taken care of, architectural almost done. Cool. This is a really cool house. Outside the villages, it's on, I think, 40 acres, right, Kelly? So, Kevin, I hear some people are complaining about the noise near the turnpike. It sounded like that buyer didn't use our expert, using a professional realtor. You know, so thank you, Jerry. I appreciate you. Jerry always got my back. That is for sure, and I thank you for that. That email I was going to share with you was talking about how this villages agent did a walkthrough with these people, and when they did the walkthrough, there were some things wrong, and she didn't want to close, and the realtor said, either you close or you're going to lose your money. Let me just kind of remind everybody that technically all agents in the villages work for the seller. And that's true for pre-owned or new. Okay, so since they are employed by the developer who is the seller, right, then that's what happens. They have a loyalty to their sellers. And this is kind of what happened with that email. So they printed it out, but there were some words that ran off. Let me have that paper. So Blakely printed it, and it printed like this instead of like that. And so it kind of just ran off the edge of the paper. So I don't know. I don't really know what she was trying to ask for. This was on July 5th. But anyways, I wanted to talk about it because it just goes to prove why it's better to work with somebody in the MLS than over there in the VLS because of the fact that we represent you as a single agent. All right, and that's correct, Jerry Bell. And thank you, Kelly and Ken, for your backup as well. So, yeah, you guys missed out on Geo for 3 days, that's all. I mean, I would think that after 3 days, you weren't clear of COVID yet, but I'm just glad nobody else got it, right? All right, so Kevin says they got it on July 1st, so it's actually, and Karen got it on the 3rd. And that's what happened with me and my wife. I got it on, I guess it was the 29th, and she ended up getting it the evening of Father's Day. So it was a big mess, for sure. So Kevin, I'm here for you, buddy. Not near the turnpike, right? And yeah, there's so now they're building way out. So that's kind of how the villages works. Is they'll start with the kind of like the worst place, the most farthest out place, try to get people to buy as they go, and then they kind of fill in from there. And it seems like it works better that way. All right. So listen. I think we need, how many people we have?
42.
42 people. All right, so we're probably just going to get more as we go. I see 95 views on here, so I don't know what the difference between my 95 views is and...
So the 42 people is people at the same time. The 95 is people who've watched since we started. So if someone watched and went off, they no longer count, but they count it towards the 95.
Oh, so people are coming on. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and bring Katina on. She's been here patiently watching as we go. So, Katina, you can come over here and sit next to me. We have the microphone sitting right here.
All right.
This is Katina Pantazis.
Hello.
I said that right?
You did, yes.
There you go. I've known Katina now for, oh gosh, what, about 5 years, I guess?
It's been a long time.
When we were over at Sable Palm.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. I was over, let's see, I started over with Cell State for a year, and that was 2015, so it's probably been maybe even longer than that.
Yeah, so I'm not good with math. How long
Maybe
is
7
that?
years.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like 7 years, right? How time flies. But I'm getting with Katina. She's heard this forever. She's going to do my will for me. And actually, I really need you to get to do that will because, well, we'll talk about that later. Anyways, This is Katina. She's here to answer any of your questions about wills, estates, trusts. What kind of attorney would you call yourself?
An elder law attorney, and I specialize in estate planning, so estates, trusts, probate, trust administration, even advanced directives like medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, that type of thing.
Cool. So she can handle just about any of your needs. So if you all have any questions, she also you have another business, right?
Yeah, so we just started with a colleague of mine, Becky Nichols. We just started E Estates and Trusts, which is a completely virtual law firm. So if somebody needs to handle anything that they're not here in Florida, or if they're here but they don't want to make the drive to an office, you can always do it all online with E Estates and Trusts.
There you go.
Oh wow, that was close.
Where do you want Katina?
Yeah, where do you want me to
Oh, this is good for me, I think.
Okay. So E Estates and Trust is all online.
Yes.
Do we have any information to give people on E Estates and Trust?
The website, which we are currently building out, which is e-estatesandtrust.com.
Okay.
And that's about it for right now.
All right, cool. All right, so let's just go to Diane real quick. Will I need to redo my will and trust if I move to Florida from South Carolina, or is it still valid?
Great question. So I get that a lot. Am I looking here or here? Sorry.
Yeah,
This
you
one,
got
okay.
to give her some.
So that's a great question. We get that a lot, and basically anything that you've created out of state is valid as long as it was validly created in the state that you created it at the time you created it. Now the question is whether or not Florida is going to require additional steps to accept that. So it's not that it's not valid, it's just that potentially there might be more that has to be done in order for it to be accepted by the Florida courts. But more importantly, when you're looking at a power of attorney and healthcare documents, you want to make sure the power of attorney is going to be accepted by title companies if you intend to purchase property, and you're not going to be, present and you want somebody else to handle that transaction for you, as well as banks. So if you have a bank that you are dealing with and you need your power of attorney to be able to handle financial transactions for you, make sure that the bank is aware of what the power of attorney document is that you're providing, and if they don't accept an out-of-state one, which we find a lot, then you need to update it to Florida. And the same holds true for medical documents like your healthcare surrogate, your living will. Provide it to your healthcare provider, see if anything additional needs to happen. Also come see an attorney in Florida and see if any updates need to be made to those documents.
Cool, so Diana, I hope that helps. Greg asked the question, what do you know about portability when one spouse dies?
Also a good question. That's kind of a loaded question. So portability is when you use the deceased spouse unused exemption. So basically, if you have a taxable estate, which nowadays very few people have a taxable estate as a married couple. To have a taxable estate, you'd have to have about 22 million in order to have a taxable estate. So what portability is when one spouse passes, you want to port over that deceased spouse's exemption so that the last spouse to pass away has used all of that. Now you can do that even if you don't have a taxable estate, if you're looking forward to the future to potentially see that maybe Congress might lower that estate tax limit. Portability may be something that you may be looking into, but you'd need to contact a CPA as well as an attorney to make sure that's the right path for you and also to help facilitate that.
You said 22 million?
Yeah, for a married couple right now. And that sunsets in 2024, I believe. So basically what that means is that'll change whether or not Congress acts before that. we're not.
So a couple had to have $22 million in their estate.
Joint estate in order to have a federal estate tax, yeah.
Okay. And then they can use that portability when one passes away.
Yeah, so that's how you get to the 22 million. Each individual gets about 11 million, and then if one spouse passes, you port over that exemption to the surviving spouse, so that when the surviving spouse passes, you have that approximate $22 million figure.
Awesome. All right. So let's see. Good question, Greg. Very good question. So I took my Nevada trust to Florida. This is Lex. Trust name remains the same. Did have a Florida trust done. Destroyed the Nevada trust. Again, trust name remains the same. So does it sound like he's in good shape there?
Well, I don't like the word destroys. However, I think what he's saying, is it okay to say the person's name? This is all.
Yeah,
okay.
Because everybody sees that.
Okay, so I think what Lex is saying is that he restated his Nevada trust to be a Florida trust. And then when he did that, he got rid of the old one and now just has the Florida one. And the name is the same when you restate it. So, yeah, now I never advise people to destroy a trust that they've restated, just in case we need to look back at prior versions to make sure everything's been done correctly. Because once you destroy something, there's no bringing it back. But as long as it keeps the same name and you've restated it completely and correctly under Florida law, you should be good.
Like says living trust.
Yes, yes. Revocable living trust is what I assumed.
Okay, good. Do you draw up LLCs for rental properties?
We don't draw up LLCs, but we do have other attorneys that we refer to that do that, and that is really important for rentals because it adds another shield of or veil of protection, and then we assign that to your trust. So that is a really good point to bring up, that if you have a rental property, you should potentially look into creating an LLC.
Excellent. Let's go to Linda's question that she emailed us.
Okay. Do you want me to read it?
Linda from Oregon. Yeah, go ahead. You can read it.
All right, this is Linda Kruger from Oregon, and we met at the end of January. I have the following question for your guest tonight. Please explain the pros and cons of a transfer on death deed for real estate. I also heard about a life estate deed option. Please explain what that is and the pros and cons. It looks like Florida has more options for passing real property to a beneficiary besides using a living trust. Thank you for all you do. All right. She said, P.S. I like your new listing in Spruce Creek. Wish I was ready to move. Still trying to convince my 92 and 93-year-old parents that they should move to Florida.
Yeah. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. So, I think that's so true with your parents as well. I hear that all the time. They are not leaving wherever they are. So I think Linda, I remember that back in January too. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so to answer your question, yes, there is a transfer on death deed for real estate. That's called a ladybird deed or an enhanced life estate deed. It's also, there's a deed called a life estate deed, which you mentioned in your question. So a life estate deed is when on the deed it says, for your life, you're going to live in the property, and then once you pass away, it automatically reverts to your beneficiary. Now, the issue with a life estate deed is that the beneficiary that you've named on that deed has to sign off on any changes, meaning if you sell the property, refinance, rent it, do anything regarding that property, that life estate, the beneficiary of that life estate also has to sign off. So the benefit of an enhanced life estate, which is called a ladybird deed, is that the beneficiary does not have to sign off on it. Now, if that's great in theory, because this avoids probate, just like you said, when otherwise you'd have to use a trust to do the same thing. But unfortunately, with an enhanced life estate deed, also known as a ladybird deed, title companies are a lot of times not accepting the fact that remainder men do not have to sign off on any sort of transfer or change in ownership, and they're requiring that be done. And not only that, but if a beneficiary that you name on an enhanced life estate deed predeceases you, they're requiring, in some cases, probate for that. So in theory, it's a great idea because it transfers the property directly to your beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries have no control while you're living there. This is the ladybird deed that I'm talking about. But title companies have created an issue where now they're requiring almost the same thing as a regular life estate deed, so it complicates matters a little bit.
Now, when somebody is titling a home, you have joint tenants, with right of survivorship. You have all these other different ways to title a deed. For married couples, not even talking about a trust or an estate or anything like that, what's the best way to title that deed?
Husband and wife, which is tenancy by the entirety.
Tenancy by the entirety.
Yes.
I can never get that straight. I just, for some reason, I try to get all those different deed policies in there, and I can't.
Yeah, you don't want to own it. If you're married, you want to own it as husband and wife because that's your homestead and it creates asset protection for you on that homestead. If you own it as joint tenants with rights of survivorship but you're married, you're not getting that same benefit of the asset protection that you are afforded with tenancy by the entirety. So that's super important.
Okay. All right. So I think normally title companies will, when they have a married couple, just automatically put it in tenancy in the entireties, right?
They should, yeah.
Typically.
Yeah. Or if it just says comma husband and wife, that automatically means tenancy by the entirety.
Okay. So if you're, if this is their second marriage, for some, they're like, well, I don't know if, and you have kids involved,
right?
And the children are saying, I want, this house is to go to my kids, not to my wife. If something happens to me, I hear that on occasion too.
Yeah, so if you have a marriage where there are children not of the marriage, you have to remember that Florida does have certain laws that protect the spouse. So we call it a pretermitted spouse, which is a spouse that's not included in estate planning documents. So let's say you're like, I don't care what the law says. I don't want my spouse to inherit anything. I just want it all to go to my kids. Well, you can't do that unless you sign a postnuptial agreement or a prenuptial agreement.
Really?
And even if you've done that out of state, like let's say you lived in Kansas and you signed a prenuptial agreement before you got married, then you moved to Florida, you guys are married, well, you got to update it to Florida statutes for our postnuptial / prenuptial agreement statutes.
Okay, well, you guys need to remember that now because state to state, it changes. You always have to update whatever it is. So
right.
If you come here from wherever, Lex came here from Nevada, and this is your second marriage, and you have your assets, she has her assets, and your assets are going to go to your kids, and her assets are going to go to her kids. Anything that you've done in Nevada has to be redone here in Florida, right?
It just needs to be reviewed and updated to make sure that it complies with Florida law. Yeah, so just a review is super important.
See, so if you're in doubt, seek an attorney, get a review, and that's why I have Katina here this evening because I want to make sure that y'all know some of the things that can go wrong, or just so you know exactly what you need to do when you're coming to Florida, because just about every single one of you I think are coming from another state. So I have a question from Kelly and Ken. We are moving my mom to Freedom Point from Texas. She has a LR trust.
Maybe living revocable is what they mean.
Is that what that is, Kelly? Living revocable? And the condo was purchased in the trust. Does she need to have the trust documents reviewed?
Yes. So we definitely want to. So anytime you have property owned, and by property I mean real property, so a house, land of some sort, you want to make sure that the trust is updated to the state that you're moving to, that you're becoming a resident of. So while that may not be an issue with Freedom Point, because I know they have a unique way of handling real estate, it is something that you would want to be reviewed. You want the trust to be reviewed, make sure that it complies with everything that is it your mom? Yeah, that your mom is trying to do.
And Katina's office is right by Freedom Point.
Yes, I'm right next to Billy's Cafe, so right down the road from
Yeah.
Freedom Point.
Just about throw a rock.
Yeah.
So it says, so would you recommend visiting an elder law attorney prior to purchasing so the deed is correct?
Was this in reference to a previous question?
This is Cindy asking. That's just her question.
Yes, whenever in doubt, you want to contact an attorney to make sure, especially if it's regarding how you want your estate to go. So what I mean by that is if you're purchasing property with a sibling, a friend, even your spouse, but you and your spouse disagree on how you want that property to eventually descend to which heir, then yeah, you definitely want to talk to an attorney before you make those purchases, because it's harder to unwind than it is to just buy it the way that you want it to be.
So maybe if it's out of the norm, which would mean tenancy by the entireties. So if you're a husband and wife, you've been married for forever, for 50 years, 60 years, or whatever, and you're coming here to buy a home, and you expect when one passes away, it'll revert over to the spouse. I mean, that's typically what a title company is going to do. But if you want anything else out of that norm, then you definitely need to seek an attorney too. And it doesn't hurt, just as an insurance policy, right?
Right. Just to review what you have, make sure it's doing what you want to accomplish.
Yeah. It's kind of like along the same lines as getting a home inspection. Right?
Exactly.
You're getting a title inspection or your estate inspection or whatever. It's just to protect you, so later on down the road, you won't have any problems. Your heirs won't have any problem, because that's the main thing, You don't want it to go into probate, right?
A lot of times, yeah, people want to try to avoid probate, so there's different ways to do that. Many people feel that just a trust accomplishes that, but really it depends on how you've titled your assets, how much control you want over your assets once your beneficiaries inherit, beneficiary designations. There's many different ways to accomplish your goals, and it depends on your unique setup as to how you accomplish that, what type of planning techniques you need to use.
So do you suggest pretty much anybody and everybody puts their assets in a trust?
No.
Okay.
The reason I don't is, so a trust is a great estate planning tool for people who have, especially multiple properties, who want to avoid probate on those large pieces of property, especially if you own out-of-state property as well as in Florida. It's a great way to avoid probate in, multiple states. But it's not a one-size-fits-all estate planning tool or technique. There's other ways to do it without having to have a trust. So no, I don't recommend it for everyone. I think it really depends on the complexity of your estate, your family makeup, your goals, and what you want to accomplish.
So, so anybody who wants to protect themselves from any of their property going into probate, what is the least or the minimum they should do?
See an attorney would be the minimum. But yes, I understand what you're saying. So yeah, trust is really beneficial for that, because then it will, just like you said, you put everything into the trust in one pot and avoid probate on all those assets.
Because, when it goes into probate, then you're at the mercy of the courts.
Well, yeah, it takes a while. Our dockets are getting more and more, clogged because of the amount of people passing away, and that's just going to become more so as we move along. So it's going to be interesting. 2024 is predicted to be the largest transfer of wealth in the history of our world. So it's going to be,
Wow.
yeah.
So do you handle probate issues?
We do. We handle
You go to
probate.
court?
Yes. So a common misconception I hear is, I've got a will, therefore I'm not going to probate. Opposite is true. If you have a will, or if you don't have a will, you're going to go through probate. Probate is the act of proving your will. But if you don't have a will, Florida gets to tell your heirs who's going to inherit. If you do have a will, you've created your own instructions as to who you want to inherit. So that's why it's important to do that. At a minimum, have a will. And maybe have beneficiary designations to designate other assets in your estate to heirs or friends or family, and potentially a trust also. So it just depends on you.
See, so that's what I need to get over there and at
Yeah.
least get a will.
Something.
I'm flying, without a safety net here. And so I have 2 children, married, and no will.
Yeah.
So if something happens to me, the state of Florida gets their way, right?
Well, as long as you own everything jointly with your spouse and have beneficiary designations on everything, you should be okay. Probate typically only happens when you're married at the second spouse's passing, because that's when we got to get all those assets that transferred to the heirs.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's good to know. Okay.
you've got some time.
So as long as my assets are in my kids' names or my wife's name jointly, right?
Yeah, but you don't want to add your kids to assets, because then you lose your step up in basis. So the kids lose their step up in basis. But
What's that mean?
that means, like, if you purchase a house for $100,000, your basis is $100,000. If it's appreciated now to $400,000, that means that when you sell that, you're going to have to pay capital gains on whatever the appreciation is from your basis. Well, if you add your kid's name, their basis becomes your basis. So now they have that tax implication. Whereas if they just inherit it, when you pass away, their basis is your date of death value. So they get a step up in basis. So that's why it's important to inherit as opposed to just add a kid's name.
So in my retirement account, in my IRAs, I have my son as I don't know if he's the beneficiary, or I think he is. I think I've added him as my son and my daughter as beneficiaries of my IRAs.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a problem? Or could it
Nope.
potentially be a problem for them?
No, so the Secure Act, the only downfall of not being a spouse when you inherit that, so a surviving spouse gets to extend a IRA on their life expectancy. It's called a rollover IRA. But if you allow a non-spouse beneficiary to inherit, and there are some exceptions with like disabled beneficiaries, but a non-spouse beneficiary like your kids, they have to pay it out within 10 years. So, Uncle Sam wants to get his money, and that's what they did with the Secure Act in 2020 is they said, hey, we're not allowing you to extend it any longer. 10 years is it. Now we got to get paid our money. So that's the only downfall is they have to pay it out within 10 years. So if they don't, do the payouts correctly, potentially they could get hit with a large tax burden, or if it's a really large IRA, even if they structure the payouts, it could still be a big tax burden depending on their income bracket.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That's good. It's good to know. Anybody else? Let's see. So, make sure. I guess we have Patricia. She said, I had to go through probate with my father passing away, and I was stationed in Korea at the time. My father didn't have a will, and it was a nightmare. So there you go. You want to protect yourself. That's why I'm getting all this information at the same time you guys are, because there's a lot I didn't know, and that's kind of why I wanted Katina on here. I get free information. So, all right, let me give you Katina's information.
So, if you want to, yep.
Oh.
Yep.
So here's Katina's information. Oh, what's that scan mean?
No, you got to go back and refresh the page.
Refresh it?
Yep, just at the very top.
It loaded. I think he has to hit the back button now. Try this button right here to back out of your photos.
Oh, the card.
There we go. So there we go. There's Katina's information for herself, and this is where her address is, 13710 North US Highway 441. And this program is going to be, we're going to put it to our YouTube channel after we're done here. But you can go ahead and write her number down, 352-600-2987 to reach Katina. And just tell her, you saw her on our show and she'd be more than happy to help you out. And then the other.
Oh yeah, so if you want to do everything virtual, we do have the virtual law firm that we have created. It is eestatesandtrust.com. That's e-estatesandtrust.com. And we can help you out with all of your needs while you're working and not have to interrupt your busy life.
E-estates
and trust.com.
and
Yep.
A-N-D, trust.
A-N-D, yep,
Okay.
trust.com.
So Christian is going to go ahead and put it down here in our chat. Can you click on right from the chat?
They should be able to. Just continue.
Yes.
I'm getting a dead site.
Yeah, we're still building it out, but that is our website.
Okay.
Mhm. Do you want me to answer this one?
Yeah, Victoria had a question before we go. Go ahead.
So Victoria asked, what happens if you don't have a will or trust or anything, just something handwritten? So in Florida, you can handwrite a will, but it has to be witnessed by 2 witnesses, disinterested. Sorry.
Does it have to be notarized?
It doesn't have to be notarized. No, what notarization means is that it's self-proof. So that means that later on, we don't have to find one of those witnesses and get them to take an oath that they were present when you signed it as your last will and testament and that you were in the presence of them. That's what the self-proof affidavit is. So that's a way to not have to do that once you pass away. But it doesn't have to be notarized to be valid. But I would not recommend handwriting a will, because there are certain things that have to be included in a will, and it's when you handwrite something that makes it so that's very subjective for the court to have to interpret, and then also the witnesses would have to be called in to figure out your intent. It just creates a lot of fees and costs, so to speak, because you did not go through the correct process of just hiring an attorney to create it in the right format for Florida. So it'd save a lot more money if you just do it, contact an attorney, go over what your wishes are, and complete it.
Yeah, there you go. So if you're thinking, I'll save the money, won't see an attorney get a will or anything like that, I'll just handwrite it. Like Katina said, it might cost you more in the long run because there's a lot of stuff that was missing out of there that should have been in there.
Right.
So probably would be better if if you just spent a little extra money and made sure that the will was done right, and then you won't have any problems. I did see something that Laura wrote, and she said if you inherit an IRA from a parent or sibling, do your homework about the payouts. So just like Katina said, they have 10 years to collect all the payouts on that IRA, or else get socked with a big...
Tax burden, yeah. It's a non-spouse that inherits. You need to make sure you understand what you're inheriting and how you can inherit that.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess if nobody else has any other questions that they would like for Katina, we'll go ahead and bring her back. So, maybe you might want to stop by once a month or
Yeah, that'd be
whenever
fun.
works for you.
As long as you don't give me COVID. I don't want COVID.
4 weeks. That's why I was very clear on how long it's been. Almost 4 weeks. So
If I get COVID, everybody's aware. He gave it to me.
I gave it to you. Oh man, that's tough. Well, listen, I think I have immunity from COVID. From
Yeah.
this version anyways.
Yeah, who knows how many are out there.
True. So, Katina, thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Thanks
you
for
stopping
having
by. Like I said, guys, if you have any other questions, now, you have an assistant as well, right?
Yes, we do. So if you call in, Heather or Yvette will take all your information and help you schedule an appointment. We also do 30-minute free consultations. So if you have questions that you're not sure about and you just want a second opinion, feel free to call us. It's no cost to you to do so.
You can't beat that. 30-minute free consultation. That's awesome. So, only exclusively on Homes Around the Village's YouTube channel, right?
Right.
All right. So, thanks again, Katina. Appreciate you stopping by, and we'll have her back again, and we'll let you all know again next time, and you can get your questions ready, and we'll have fun. All right.
All right.
So, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, so let's see. First of all, just for my crew's sake, I think next time this camera needs to be over here next to this camera so we can just go back and forth instead of like that. Because I have a camera over here and I have a camera over here, and it's a little tough to be...
Sure.
It's easy just to kind of do your eyes like that,
It's a
right?
neck exercise.
So next time, over there, we'll concentrate everything over there, or over here. I don't care either way. But anyways, on with the show. So Rock, I heard that you can't pick up the virus. Now, who am I to know? I mean, I've got it twice. I've heard that you can't get it off of... Somebody has to sneeze or cough, or you have to get it from somebody. I heard somewhere along the lines, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just telling you what I heard, that you can't pick it up from a surface. So, but with that said, I'll tell you what I do is I bought one of those packets at Walgreens of these antiseptic towels that come out one by one, and when I go to get gas, I'm not taking any chances. I don't know how many of you out there have had COVID, but it is no fun. And I try to be very, very safe and very, very careful, wipe everything down. Even that gas pump thingy, I give that a little wipe down. All right, so Gamala, thanks for jumping in. I've been waiting for you to jump in and say something. I would like to know what is happening in the neighborhood of Calumet Grove and the Villages. Have all of the houses in that vicinity been devalued since the onset of multiple sinkholes? Your thoughts? Awesome question. Love that question. Because I'm just thinking. I'm just trying. First of all, let's kind of. All right. So the sinkholes that I know of all started in the retention ponds, right? So when the village's developer was developing that area, and they're digging out retention areas as required by the EPA, because you have to have so much volume of retention for floodwaters, like for hurricanes and stuff like that. So, and again, I'm just trying to think back to make sure that I'm speaking correctly, but the sinkholes that I know of started in the retention ponds. Now, there was a sinkhole in Calumet Grove that started in the retention pond on the golf course, but what it did was sucked all the water out of the retention pond. Well, when it sucked all that water out of the retention pond, there was water in a culvert, a round, huge round metal culvert. Now, I used to work for a site contracting company called Hewitt Contractors. Worked for them for a couple of years as a project manager. Got a couple, 3 or 4 developments. I did the downtown restoration for Bushnell. Was the project manager for rebuilding the 2 rest areas up in Gainesville. Went over up in just north of Gainesville and built the 1 million square foot Dollar General warehouse. And then last but not least, went over to the Coleman prison, which is where, who would have thought, the villages are building around now. But anyways, this metal culvert that they used going from the storm drain in the road between 2 houses and on out into the retention pond. So when that culvert held water and it rusted. Now, they're galvanized pipes. They're galvanized, reticulated pipes, but they're not supposed to rust, but they did. So something happened where the galvanization maybe wore off, or who knows, or maybe when they were placing it, they scraped some of the galvanized part of the pipe off, which caused the exposure to the metal part of the culvert and caused it to rust out. So that water that was in that culvert was actually holding that thing together. But when all the water was sucked out of the retention pond and thus that culvert, it sucked all the water out. And when it did that, it just caved in, imploded upon itself. And when it caved in, and all the dirt and everything else, and the grass and whatever between the 2 houses caved in, that undermined the footers that were between the 2 houses. Now, everybody thought that it was a sinkhole. Everybody called it a sinkhole. That was not a sinkhole. That was a defective metal culvert, storm drain culvert, that collapsed and caused those homes to have damage. So that's what happened there. The true reason why homes cost less up in Marion County is because of how far they are away from the town squares. Because if you're kind of like at the northernmost point, like in Calumet Grove, you're 5 miles to Spanish Springs, you're 7 miles away to Lake Sumter Landing. And as we know, everybody likes to get around by golf cart in the villages. So when you're 5 miles away, you're probably about, 25 minutes away, or you're 25 minutes by golf cart to Spanish Springs, and you're about 35 minutes by golf cart to Lake Sumter Landing. I don't know, everybody's supposed to be retired here, so what they're in such a hurry for, I don't know. But anyways, it is what it is. And so a lot of people don't want to be that far away from one of the squares because they're pretty much strategically located. But I would say now, the reason I did my series on the Marion County properties is because of where they were building in Finney at the time, which was, 2017. I decided, look, Finney is probably as far away as Marion County is to a square. So Finney is probably about as far away to Brownwood as the Marion County section is to Spanish Springs or Lake Sumter Landing. So I said, look, why not let's do a series on homes up in Marion County. That's one reason, how far away they are. I don't think sinkholes have anything to do with it, simply because, like I said, the sinkholes pretty much open up in the retention pond areas. But so, number one, how far away they are from the town squares. Number two, south of 466 tends to have a lot more recreation areas and swimming pools than this area of Marion County. So that's another reason why I think some people feel like because there's not as much recreation, even though it has Mulberry Grove Rec Center, which is your regional rec center. It has not Calumet Grove, but oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Chatham Rec Center is your recreation area with the family pool, and then it has an adult pool in Calumet Grove and in Springdale. So it has its share of rec centers. It just doesn't have the multitude of recreation centers that people are used to seeing south of 466. Now there's a whole story to that too, because the village's developer realized, hey, listen, I can build these recreation centers for $2 million, maybe $2.5 million, sell them back to the community development district for a profit, and probably making more money per square area of a rec center than they would if they just put houses there, right? They're probably making $1 million at least, maybe $1.5 million. I don't know, I'm speculating. When they sell these neighborhood pools and rec centers and stuff like that. So that's the reason, because the developer made a lot more money on these recreation centers selling them back to the community development district. That's why you see, not that you need them, but you see many more recreation centers over there. So you're like, wow, there's a lot more recreation centers, a lot more swimming pools. So in reality, there's 4 swimming pools in the Marion County area. A regional rec center, community rec center, and those neighborhood pools. There's 2 of those. That's the different recreation centers or pools that they have over there. But those are the reasons why. So hopefully, Jamala, there is your answer. So there's a house near the infamous sinkhole location that's going for auction, the address. Okay, so McLaren Terrace is one of those homes that was affected by the metal culvert. Okay, so it was not a sinkhole again, but it did a lot of damage. So you had to have these sinkhole companies come in and what they call grout underneath with concrete. It's a slush of concrete that they pump underneath the house to shore it up, and to even pump up the footers when they sank down, because when the footers gave way, the house cracked, right? So that home is probably one of those homes that were affected. I don't know if it is or not, but that was McLaren where those homes had that effect. And so it's going up for auction. Well, I know an investor came along and bought those homes, and he came in and had a sinkhole company come in and shore it up and just stucco back over it and hide all those damages. But there you go. Did the First Responders Recreation Center open up in Marion County, part of the villages yet? So, I was not aware of that. I hate to say that, Laura, but the First Responders Rec Center, I'm trying to think of where that could possibly be, because I do know that there is an area right by the Mulberry Grove Rec Center where you have the sheriff, the Marion County Sheriff Substation, and the emergency and fire right there on 42, which is the northernmost road that runs to the northernmost part of the villages and Buena Vista Boulevard. Right across, there's a traffic circle right there, and then so the Marion County Sheriff Substation and Fire and Rescue is over here. Mulberry Grove Rec Center is right here. So I'm just trying, I don't know where they would possibly be putting that First Responders Rec Center. Unless it's in one of those, either in Phillips Villas in that area, because those were kind of, I don't want to say they're afterthoughts, but they just acquired those properties in 2014, I think, is when the villages acquired the property for Philip Villas and Soulier Villas. So those are right out there, and they were built much later than the homes that are in the Marion County area, which were built in 2002, 2003. Here's a couple, let me just say that I get a lot of people asking me, where would you, well, first they ask me, do I live in the villages? No, I don't. If you lived in the villages, where would you live? So I tell them, in the Marion County section of the villages. Why? Well, several reasons why. Number one, first and foremost, just like Gamala pointed out, the homes up there cost less than homes anywhere else in the villages. That's number one. Number two, reason I like it up there, it's not so dated, because they were built in 2002, 2003, that you can pretty much go in there and maybe put some paint and flooring in there and maybe granite or whatever, you're good to go. So I like that. That's number two. Number three, the bonds. The highest bond that's in Marion County is $3,500. If a home does still have a bond in there, $3,500 would be the payoff for that bond. So, so most of them, the bonds are paid off, but the bonds up there, all bonds you pay off in your taxes. So if you only have a $3,500 bond, your taxes tend to be lower. And then the last thing, well, there's actually two more things. The other thing is, it's not as crowded in the wintertime. So to the northernmost section, you don't see as the population density up in the northern section. You don't see as much traffic. You don't see as much people. So the people who live in the villages full time kind of enjoy the fact that there's not a lot of transient people, renters, seasonal people, visitors, yeah, but you don't see that population swell like it does north of 466. And lastly, I would say it's an easy out to get to Ocala. And Ocala, those where your two malls are. You have an open air mall and an indoor mall. and you have the Epic Movie Theater, which is epic. If you haven't been to that Epic Movie Theater, it's awesome. So, and then everything you want, restaurants, car dealerships, I mean, anything and everything you want. Pretty much everybody goes to Ocala to get. So, very convenient to get to Ocala from Marion County. So that's why I always harp on the Marion County section. All right, so I'm off my soapbox on that one. Laura, for the first responders rec center, I think it's located where a church was formerly located. Oh, okay, interesting. So that makes sense. So First Baptist Church of the Villages was a small church, and then they went ahead and they built a much bigger church towards the main road, Highway 40. So that makes sense. I'll have to check into that, Laura, but that would definitely make sense. So there's actually a connecting road going out of Calumet Grove through that church area. And now that I think about it, they totally redid the in and out, the egress and ingress, because it was weird. It was really weird. They let you go out of that entryway to get to the church by car. You couldn't come back in. Only way to get back in was if you were in a golf cart. So I could never understand that. So you could go out by car, but you couldn't come in by car. You could go out by golf cart, you can come in by golf cart. But that was, I thought, was strange why they would do that, but who knows? It is what it is. But I remember when I was driving through there last, they were totally redoing that area. So maybe that's why. Maybe they're making it where you can get in and out by a car. And so it makes perfect sense. So opening July 27th. See what you learn in this. In this, I learn a lot as well. So my wife keeps telling me I need to watch the Villages News.net.
Your column?
The Villages News, I think it's the villagesnews.net. Because it keeps you up to date with everything that's going on.
.com. Villages-news.com.
The villages-news.com. Okay. So, yeah, I don't keep up with that, to be honest with you. I guess I should a little bit more. But I tend to focus on real estate. The Villages News has arrests. They have, I don't know, all kind of stuff.
You want me to put a link in the chat?
You can, yeah. All right. So, Laura, there you go. Did you learn that from Skip? Skip's the man.
Kamala just agreed with you. We have Skip Smith for news.
Huh?
The last comment.
We have Skip Smith for news. Okay, there you go. He'll sit there and read you the Daily Sun. So see, Kamala, you and me, we think alike. Great minds, right? Jerry Bell, or watch Skip Smith News Channel on Friday. See, there you go. All right, so let's go back up here a little bit for a second. Jerry, First Responders Recreation Center is in the Mulberry region near the northernmost areas of the Villages, yes. And so you have to go through the Calumet Grove community to get there, if it's that church we're talking about. Access to this center will be available by car from County Road 42 and by golf cart only. Okay, so thank you, Jerry. So what they did now was they did the opposite of what I was thinking that they were going to do, meaning car in, car out. No, now it's only golf cart in and golf cart out, where it used to be car out only golf cart in. How confusing is that? So Laura, so on the Village's news website, the comments can get very rude. That's a big reason why I don't read all that, because, yeah, I can kind of go off on something like that. I actually had somebody respond to me on one of my videos about, well, we're not going to get political on this channel here, so I won't even talk about that. Anyways, I couldn't help myself but respond. Wrestler, oh my, where you been? What time is it?
7:20.
7:20.
Only an hour 15 in.
Wrestler Mania. Oh, now he wants to come in and say, hey, everybody, listen.
No, hi, Ira.
Yeah, where's Hi Ira? Jerry Bell, Laura Lamb, Kevin, how you doing? No Ira. It's all right.
Did you see Mr. Sylvian's question underneath Jerry Bell's instructions?
I did.
Okay.
I was ignoring Mr. Sylvan. No, not really. Just kidding. I got carried away. Are On Top of the World in Stone Creek still having lotteries and bidding for lots? Well, Stone Creek, yes. On Top of the World, no. They pretty much stopped their, what I call build to suit. Meaning you go in, pick out your lot, go in the design center, order your upgrades, and they build a home for you. They've pretty much said, no more of that. We can't keep up with the amount of orders, and it just got so chaotic for them, trying to figure out the best way to get people a home and keep everybody happy. And here's the deal. I mean, I just met one of my customers that closed almost a month ago. And I said, look, make sure you get with me before you get past your 30-day walkthrough, your 30-day warranty period, where they'll come back and they'll fix whatever's wrong with the house. You know, let's kind of go through it together and check it out. So, so he went through, but he was in the lottery, and so he missed the first lottery. He missed the second lottery. Prices went up. He missed the third lottery. Prices went up again. Missed the fourth. He was livid. He goes, I am not going to move to On Top of the World at all. Forget it. I'm done. You know, I want to buy a house. I want to get a lot. Here's my money. But he couldn't get one. So it's like, you know, so they were damned if they do and damned if they didn't at On Top of the World. So it's like now I think they did the right thing by saying we're just going to spec. We're going just pure inventory homes, move-in ready homes, I think they call it. So they just went through and they just started building their own homes to their own specifications. I call them spec homes as a contractor. So, yeah, so On Top of the World, no more going in there, unless they changed it again. I don't know. You know, I guess if now that things are slowing down a little bit, they might go back to their homeowner department. I don't know. We'll see. All right, Wrestler. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. How's the housing market slowing down, Kevin? I think I made a housing market for June. This is 7-Eleven. By the way, I heard free slushies at 7-Eleven. At all 7-Elevens. So you might want to go get your free slushies.
Only today.
Today's 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven day. So there you go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Jerry, WrestleMania woke up from his nap. He's a hoot. Hey, Jerry Bell with a little bell. All right, Kevin Jacks, good question. How many houses on the market in the villages? All right, let's do it. Thanks for that question. I don't know. There was about 220. We're getting ready to go see here. Let's check it out. Wait a minute.
Are you putting it over here?
Gosh. Are we over here?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Huh. We'll get a new page. And we'll go to my MLS. And let's see. Here we go. Thank you. I think we got the bugs worked out finally here. It was hectic in the beginning. So we have 271 views. What does that mean?
People who have tuned in and out since we started. The average.
Could it be the same person?
Yeah, they can come back in if they'd like.
And then it counts them again?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, here we go. Are y'all ready for this? This is the latest and the greatest. Do we get a drum roll? Drum roll, please. Quick. And as we know, the city is the villages, right down here where my cursor is. 216. What is that? 216. So, down from a few days ago when it was 220. So it's kind of, all right, so it's holding. Best thing I can tell y'all is the market is pretty much holding at between 215 and 220. It's not going up anymore. So again, hey John Keller, and then Wrestler Mania, thank you for the stars. I digress. So, thank you. Let's see. So as far as the market goes, typical average homes in the villages community is 500, between 525 and 550. That's how it's always been in a normal market. So 216 is still very low, half, less than half than what a normal market is. But Jerry is correct. Sylvan, he's leaving already. But thanks for joining us, Sylvan. 216 is better than 50, which is true. I mean, guys, let me tell you, it was as much frustrating for me as it was for you. I was pulling my hair out. That's why I just kind of lost some up here because of this housing market. With not being able to find homes for you guys. You know, that's why I kind of had to, spread things out and look around and, find On Top of the World and Del Webb Stone Creek and some comparable communities. So, anyways, we're holding steady, excuse me, holding steady at 216. I don't know if y'all saw the video that I did where I said that 6% interest, a lot of people got freaked out and, the housing market. Well, it was a combination of two things. May and June are typically very slow months anyways. And then for the interest rates to go up in May and June really gave it a sense of doom in the real estate market. And you saw also all these homes going from, like what Laura and Jerry were saying, 50 and 60 homes, 60 and 70 homes. And so Laura, yeah, I mean, so that's what I was, okay, all right, Sylvan, thanks for joining us tonight. But anyways, when I was in my video about the market in June, I went ahead and saw, okay, how many homes sold through the MLS in February? And I believe it was 134 homes sold in February. Then I went and I looked how many homes went under contract, went pending, because I want to know in real time, what homes went under contract, and I think it was 94. And I can't remember if that was May. That was probably for May. But anyways, so that's 94, that's 40 something. I think it might have been 137. I think it was 43 homes difference from February to May. So, or maybe it was June. I can't remember if I put that video out, if I made it in July or not. But that's still a pretty big, significant percentage from February to May or June. So there you go. All right. So yes, Kelly, I would love to see the plans. So when Ben is going out there sometime, if you let me know, I'll catch up with him, and I'll go out and talk to him out there at the house. That'd be cool. And if you'll tell me instead of Ben, I'd appreciate it. Or Ben can, either way is fine with me. Let's see, WrestleMania. I went in and out 107 times myself. Come on, Jerry Bella, keep up. 107.
The views. He's saying he logged in and out of your stream.
Oh my gosh, Wrestler, you're throwing my numbers all off here. I'm glad you clarified that. All right, John, what you got to say for yourself, Mr. Keller there? He's just socializing with everybody else. And so that's cool. That's what it's all about. I don't have any games like Skip. Mine's not as fun. Mine's just informative. I'll leave the fun stuff for Skip. I'm not going to step on his toes. He's got his thing. He does his thing, which is cool. I like watching Skip. All right, so folks, 7:30. That's usually our cutoff time. If nobody else has anything else they want to contribute or say or offer or anything else like that, then we're going to see you in 2 weeks, which would be, yeah, Wrestler, pick me. And then send him that money. What is it? What is that contribution thing he's got?
Super chat.
Super chats, yeah. Skip has been begging me, literally begging me, to put super chats on here. I don't have anything for anybody to contribute to a super chat anyways. But, yeah, Jerry. Thanks, Christian. All right, so, Kevin, oh no. All right, well, I have some news you're going to miss out in 2 weeks. I guess you'll just have to log in when you get a chance to see what the news is all about. But you don't want to miss the show in 2 weeks. Got some important things to tell you and show you. So until then, thank you so much for watching the live stream tonight. We really appreciate it. Next time we'll introduce you to Willow. Maybe I'll get her over here because Willow is taking over for Christian. Christian's going to be pretty much taking a back seat to things. He's going to go to school. He's going to get his teaching certificate and teach history, right?
That's the plan at the moment.
That's the plan. So Willow's going to be taking over. We'll introduce you to Willow here next week, as well as Kaylin and the news. So there you go.
Just posted your phone number.
And Wrestler, that's what I've been waiting for. Remember to click the thumbs up button and subscribe if you've not already. Thank you so much. I appreciate you jumping on just to say that, because without you, I don't know what I would do. So John, thanks very much for that. And we have Sandy. Night, everybody. Thanks, Ira and Kristen. You are welcome, Sandy. Thank you for joining us. I couldn't do this if it wasn't for you. If I had nobody to talk to, nobody to chat with, there would be no live stream. There would be no show. So I give it all to you guys. I just try to be here for you. All right, so there we go. Thanks so much. We'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks. That would be July 25th, 2022. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks again.